guess what? I got a fever.
You give me fever, fever in the morning, a fever all through the night.
I don't know. Or maybe you just find your Gino for a year.
So a guy who had problems on the field last year was Russ, right? And you and I think, are both sold on the idea that, like, with Sean Payton coming in, right, and, you know, a little bit more in shape, the bad coaching out, he started to win over the locker room. Like, we're buying the story of Russ is a bounce back, right, and that he's going to be better than he was in 2022. How much better remains to be seen, because, you know, he's slowing down a little bit. So does he have to be a little bit more of like a pocket guy, which he's not always been, you know, so great at? So I have him at 14 in a tier with Tua, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Lance, who we'll get to in a little bit. You have even more faith in Russ. I think you have him at 12.
12.
You have 12. So not only two spots, but he made it into that top 12 that you feel good about. Sell me on feeling that good about Russ.
Oh, yeah. Sean Payton has experience with a Russ type quarterback already. A little bit short, not ideal standing directly in the pocket, knows how to move the pocket. You'll see, I believe you'll see a lot of rollouts. Like I said, a lot of moved pockets where Russ can be comfortable throwing on the move and reading on the move. And you're going to see things tailored to his strengths. That's what Sean Payton does. I also have Judy at wide receiver 11.
Oh, wow.
I know,
yeah, that's right.
Yes,
I forgot about that.
Very aggressive. Yes. Yeah. But I mean, I love the talent, and I really see Sean Payton as truly one of the best coaches, offensive minds in the NFL. And for him to have been out of the league, you know, was painful. And it's the reason why, as soon as he left the Saints, I didn't want any of their players immediately. Yeah. You know, I like Olave because he's Olave, but there's nothing else about the Saints team that I think is really, you know, anything more than like a depth piece on your roster.
When I listen to people who, you know, read the NFL tea leaves, and I think about what that translates now for fantasy, they're saying that Sean Payton will give Russ guardrails, because we all said, let Russ cook. Pete Carroll was like, be careful what you ask for. We found out what happened when he cooked in Denver, right? When he basically was given it. Listen, it was bad coaching, but one of the reasons it was bad coaching is because they kind of gave him, like they said, you go be the chef. And I think what Peyton is going to do is, I think, maybe put a little bit of guardrails on that, and then and hopefully shape things to his skills. Because what you said, I think, stands out as far as moving the pocket and things like that. I like that you went there, because you started out talking about Breeze, and it's like Breeze as like a reader of defenses, as a processor of the field, I think is much better than Russ.
Oh, sure.
You know,
he was one of the best of all time at that.
Right. So, you know, but then you said, okay, well, but they're going to move the pocket and stuff like that. So, like, when people,
it's more about the size than than the attributes.
The idea, basically, my point being, is that, like, when we think about like what this real NFL coaching stuff means, that we kind of have to pay attention to for fantasy, is that this is speculation season, right? Right. It's the summer, and we're saying, what are these offenses going to look like next year? And what we're saying here is that we believe the offense is going to look better and improve enough, right, that even if you don't have faith in certain pieces, Sutton, what's Dulcich's role going to be? You know, if you're lower on Judy than Jesse is, that's fine. But Russ is somebody you can be confident in. I have him outside the circle of trust. You're saying he's trust him.
If you want me to get a little more technical about this, I can.
Sure.
So one of the things about Russ, one of the things that didn't work with Russ and Nathaniel Hackett is Russ is not comfortable standing in the pocket and throwing over the middle of the field. He won't do it. He doesn't do it. He doesn't throw over the middle of the field. If you see his heat map over his career, it's ridiculous. Like he is comfortable throwing on the move to the outside. So you need routes and offensive scheme and blocking schemes that are going to cater to that. And Nathaniel Hackett refused. They didn't move a pocket at all. And like you just, that's not who Russ is, right? And like you said, he may have lost a bit of a step as far as his wheels, so he wasn't able to like create the same magic he was able to early in his career. He needs a coach to help him with that, and he's finally got one that will. I mean, don't get me wrong, Pete Carroll would and did. Their offense was tailored to him, and why? I mean, it just kind of shows probably some narcissism on Russ's part. I mean, like they ran the ball probably too much for his liking, and that and maybe it was more of a personality thing with him and Pete Carroll. But he wanted them to fire Pete Carroll and hire Sean Payton in Seattle. That's basically why they traded him, right? And that's never going to happen. Pete Carroll, they didn't love Pete Carroll. He's Sunshine Pete, right?
Yeah.
So it's he went into a situation where he was allowed to cook in a way he's just not comfortable doing, right? He was allowed to throw more, but in a system that just didn't work for him. Now he finally has what he wants. He finally has what we want. Right. Is a player like a coach that will coach to the player's strengths.
So they said cook, but they gave him a camp stove, a Coleman camp stove, and now he's got a stainless steel, Jesse Schneeman, Yes Chef quality, range to work with, right?
I'm trying to think. Damascus steel knives.
Okay, all right, yeah. Go for it. Give me that inside food and bev info on So when it comes to the rookies, let's talk about the rookies, right? So you have Richardson just outside the top 12 at 13. I have him at 12. Then you have Bryce Young at 14, CJ Stroud at 17. I've got them in the same order, Richardson, Young, Stroud. I have Richardson at 12. I have him in my top 12. And then tier break. And then I've got Young at 15 and Stroud at 16. So here's the thing about rookie quarterbacks. First of all, they're rookies, right? Sure. Second of all, when we talk about them within the narrow context of a rookie draft, that's one thing. But now in startup season, when we're saying, okay, we're in the trades, we're in startups, or we're in the trade streets, like now they're filtering in with the other players. How are we comparing them to them? I don't like them at ADP is the long and short of it. So Richardson's going at the 201 at quarterback 9. A little rich for me.
Wow. So the 13th overall player.
Right. Young, I mean, that's the average. So sometimes earlier, sometimes later, right? Bryce Young at the 210 at quarterback 11. And let's see, CJ Stroud has dropped to the 305 at quarterback 14. I'm a little more comfortable with Stroud at that ADP, but all of them, I kind of don't want a rookie as one of my top 2 quarterbacks if I'm in a startup. No, like that.
I have Stroud behind Dimes.
Yeah.
So that's my answer there.
Yeah.
AR, it's way too high. You can get real starting quarterbacks that are good there, right? AR is 50-50. All rookie quarterbacks are 50-50, right? So
yeah, I mean, we were both the church of AR, but again, that's in the narrow context of rookie drafts and comparing him to Stroud and Young. Now it's you have to compare him to why is he going the 201 and Deshaun Watson's the 203, Dak Prescott's at the 211, and Kyler Murray's at the 302. Like, come on, folks, what are we doing here?
Yeah, right, exactly. So let me ask you this: when do you think he's going to actually play football?
Oh, when
do you think he's going to get in?
Honestly, like
right out of the gate,
I'd say the most the most weeks he's not going to start is 3. I think they want to get him in there, and I think they should.
Now you got to scramble and make sure you get Gardner, and then hope you get points out of Gardner, and That's a little. I mean, that part of it is enough to just bump him down below quarterbacks that I know are already good. Like, so where's Tua go?
But here's the thing, though. Like I said 3 because I'm thinking about the realistic range of outcomes. If you believe what the team says, he's starting right out of the gate. Like they want him to play. Like there's none of this you're going to learn on the bench. And in some ways, I think that's a good idea because you don't want him to get into a situation where you start to like clip his wings and you start to try to fit him into a box that he doesn't fit
I think it's a good idea because
you want him to go out there and learn by doing, you know?
Well, yeah, but that can be bad, right? If the coaching isn't right, that can be terrible. David,
we like the coach.
Right. So yes, I like it because I believe Shane Steichen will put him in a position to be successful.
Yeah.
You know, I think there'll be a ton of read option. Jonathan Taylor to the moon, by the way, in that situation. So read option and JT.
Right. Also, what's interesting is with read option, and I'm going to credit JJ Zachariason here. He's been digging into like what happens to skill position players with rookie quarterbacks, with mobile quarterbacks. And then he like was talking to somebody else. I forget. It might have been Ben Gretsch. And he had this like aha moment of like, now let's look what happens with RPO. And so like we say, oh, mobile quarterbacks hurt position groups, and they do. But within those position groups, guys get hyper targeted. So that's why I'm more in on Pittman than I am with than consensus, because in an RPO, he's going to be the first read and you're going to hit him. You know what I mean? They're either going to hand it to JT, right? Or like, Pittman's going to have like, 25% target share, right? Like, and because, when you run RPO, you're not like, okay, it's a fast play. Now I'm going to go through my progressions. You know what I mean? So like,
right.
So like you're going to condense your targets. And that's why I like Pittman more than some people do.
So because of that, I asked only the biggest Colts fan I know in the industry is Memphis, right? So I asked, I never got an answer, but I asked him, my question was, who runs the best slant on the Colts right now?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Well, that could be good for Josh Downs too. Could be good for Downs. Yeah.
Right, but that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably not Alec Pierce.
No.
Right? That's not his skill set, but it might be Pittman. It might be Downs. It might be a combination of both, but I like that as the number one route that they're going to run this year.
So I think the conclusion that we're reaching here is we like the rookies, but just not at ADP. So are we selling any of them? Like, are we looking at this and going, I grabbed Anthony Richardson in a rookie draft, and I have 5 shares, and I like the guy a lot. I'm in on him. I believe in the church of Anthony Richardson because I'm smart enough to listen to Brian Ford. But he's going at the 201.
So
I could trade him for blah blah. Like I could tear down.
Well, not blah blah blah. I'm going to ask you what we ask on War Games.
Yeah.
Trade him for what?
So it depends, right? Is he my QB3, and my QB4 is Jimmy Garoppolo, and I have the luxury of moving him for a non-QB.
And you already have 2 stud quarterbacks as your 1 and 2?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, then of course.
Okay, then I would, first of all, I'd want a young player. Well, okay, I would want a good player, hopefully young, and
Garrett Wilson, Olave,
and 24 draft capital on top of it. Yeah.
So like,
give me Olave and a 24 second, and maybe a 25 second, and I might do it.
I want a first.
You're not going to get Olave and
I want 5 firsts.
5. You know what? 5 firsts is you laugh like. Jacob Sanderson, like the way he does his tiers is a little different from the way I do them. He basically does them by like what are they worth, and value tier. And he says that Allen and Mahomes are worth theoretically 5 hypothetical firsts, equivalent thereof.
I traded Mahomes.
I'm trying to sell Allen in a couple leagues.
it's hard to trade. It's hard to trade Mahomes like internally.
Yeah.
I didn't put him on the block. I just got a crazy offer.
Yeah.
So like that was last playoff time. It was a rebuilding. The teams like it was actually on my episode of War Games. One of the reasons I rebuilt this team so quickly and is I'm taking it into contention this year is because I got 3 firsts, 2 seconds, and Kyler.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I was like, I kind of have to, don't I?
Yeah.
And they like were high firsts. So
make me so we both have Richardson, Young, Stroud as the order, right? Who's gonna have the best 2023?
Bryce.
Tell me why.
See, I see Bryce as a good floor this year with definitely a very high ceiling, but I think he's going to come in a good situation under Reich right away. I think he's got the best skill set to start right away. He has an NFL brain. You know, he's probably a year ahead of Richardson. He might even be a year ahead of Stroud, and Stroud I think is pretty close to NFL ready too. Especially with the accuracy. Stroud's going to need a little time with, like he wasn't asked to read defenses at Ohio State.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and their weapons are. I think you're looking at better weapons too for Bryce Young. They're not great on either side, but you know,
Thielen's going to really help that entire room. You know, having just such a crafty, experienced veteran to kind of mentor the quarterback and the other young wide receivers. Like for Mingo, man, having Thielen in that room is huge, and I do mean huge size wise. Like, because Thielen has never been a speed guy, and Mingo's not a speed guy either, right? So he's going to teach him crafty ways to get open.
Yeah, he's got a certain kind of speed, and they did kind of utilize it at Mississippi. They did throw him a couple like just go, but you're right. I think in the NFL he's going to be more of like a big slot intermediate target, especially at first for the young quarterback. And I think that's where Thielen's going to help because they got Chark to take the top off. You know,
right. And I think Mingo is going to need to learn how to become a professional wide receiver to be successful, like with his skill set. Mm-hmm. He can't just be Kelvin Benjamin out there trying to high point everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you asked who runs the best slant on the Colts. I don't know about other players, but according to Reception Perception, Michael Pittman in 2022 was graded at 83.9% on a slant as far as like, you know, winning the route or whatever. Success rate. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Yeah. It's green, which is good, right?
Okay, cool.
And as far as like, okay, he's good at the slant. Does he run it a lot? Yes. It's among his green routes that he ran it 27.7% of the time, which I'm looking at it was his highest rate. Here's the thing though. It was with
the crosser, I think.
It was with Matt Ryan, you know, who like, so I don't want to give up too much content that's behind Matt Harmon's paywall, but the idea here is go buy Reception Perception from Matt Harmon, but Carson Wentz wasn't good at timing. He was more of like deeper throws. You know, an aging Matt Ryan couldn't throw the ball deep, so it was all like very short targets. So, you know, maybe that slant rate goes down this year. You know,
maybe it doesn't. With the RPO.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not going to say. You know, I'm not saying they're not going to take shots. You know, Anthony Richards got a huge arm, but I think that's going to be their bread and butter. So that's actually really nice. That's really nice intel right there. I see you got a liquid death. What's the green and gold?
This is severed lime.
Severed lime.
Yeah, they have these like weird like names that are supposed to sound creepy, like puns, like severed limb and I forget, like convicted melon instead of convicted felon. You know,
I thought I was going to learn like a new technique of how to work with limes.
No, you know, just put the lime in the coconut and stir it all up.
Yeah. I do know how to I did learn how to candy a lime recently.
Okay.
Working more with confections these days.
Trey Lance. Let's talk about the 49ers. Right? Purdy's going to be the starter. We've both heard, Lance is now competing with Sam Darnold. Right? I heard someone say if he can't beat out Sam Darnold, now it's time to give up. I disagree. The reason that he's possibly behind Sam Darnold is not because he's not as good as Sam Darnold, right? It's because Sam Darnold is a Kyle Shanahan quarterback. Fits the system, button pusher, puppet for Kyle Shanahan. In fact, the 49ers wanted Sam Darnold even earlier than when they got him. And at one point, we're talking internally about giving up a first-round draft pick for Darnold when he was on the trade block.
Whoa.
So Kyle Shanahan loves Sam Darnold. And that is going to be why Sam Darnold beats out Trey Lance, because Kyle Shanahan is a dick and not because Sam Darnold is all that much better than Trey.
But it doesn't matter why?
Well,
does why matter?
Yes, it does, right? Because I have Trey Lance ranked at 17 and you have him ranked at like 30. And to me, that matters because when he goes somewhere else, right? For me, he's going somewhere else to succeed without being under the thumb of Kyle Shanahan. He's not going somewhere as this defeated third-string quarterback who's a bust. I'll buy him at third-string quarterback who's a bust prices, right? But I'm not ranking him there.
So you just said Kyle Shanahan's a dick.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Right. And he doesn't trade quarterbacks. What did he do with Garoppolo? He was a dick. And he made us fucking wait. Right? We don't even care about Garoppolo. He's not even that good, but we still want him to fucking go somewhere and be a starter. And he still wouldn't.
But we're talking about a third stringer now who doesn't fit Shanahan's offense. Jimmy was neither of those.
Any other rational organization would have already traded Lance, right? 3 or 4 months ago, I was still in on Lance because my train of thought was, well, if they're really going to go with Purdy and Darnold as the backup, then they're fixing to trade Lance. They're about to trade him, and he'll just go, be Tennessee or somebody else's starter. Great. Then I'm still in because he's going to be a starter for somebody. Does it have to be a Shanahan starter? That's fine. He can be somebody else's fucking starter. But as it stands now, he has not done that, and I have no confidence that he will.
You have him below Ritter, Howell, and Levis.
Yes, I just traded him for Ritter.
Explain yourself.
Ritter is a starting quarterback in the NFL on a team loaded with elite talent. Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. He's was at one point regarded as a pretty good prospect. Was not terrible when he came in last year. Was actually pretty decent facilitator. Has more rushing upside than people remember, and could actually be successful and has the opportunity to be successful, something that I don't believe Lance may ever get. And he's also getting old and just has no experience under his belt. Ritter actually has college experience, has played quarterback in the last 5 years. Lance at this point, I just feel like it's holding on to a dream. And I'm just going to take a guy that has a job.
Lance has thrown 450 passes since high school.
It's ridiculous.
And some people look at that as a bad thing. And I look at it as it just means the jury is still out.
It means he doesn't have the experience to be successful. What do they say about experience? You can't, there's this whole diatribe about it, right? I'm not going to even try, but you know what I'm talking about, right? You can't fake it. You can't buy it. You have to earn it. It's the only way to get it.
So I'm going to pull up something in a second here, but I don't necessarily disagree with that stuff about Ritter. I would add though that,
I'm sorry if it felt like I was yelling at you.
No. I asked you to justify it, right? I would say still for me, much lower ceiling. Was it third round pick versus, a top 5 pick? I think Lance has more rushing upside, and we're looking at, still as good an offensive mind as Arthur Smith is. He's an offensive mind that drives us crazy. And how much is that volume going to increase in 2023 so that Ritter's got the opportunity to do what? Hand it to Bijan? You know what I mean?
He's got more. He's going to have more passing volume than Lance in 2023.
In 2023, he could be non-existent in 2024, 2025.
I also believe in my ability to flip him for a more stable product, or the more I felt like this is a gift, right? When I was offered Ritter for him, and actually I got Khalil Shakir on top of it. I felt like it was a gift. Like, all right, this is your last Lance. Get out of it. Do something with Ritter after a couple peak weeks, right? Do I believe Ritter is a long-term? No, he might have another year after this one. That's like my gut feeling. But I also believe in my ability to trade him at the right time for something that, will be better than Lance.
I can't pull up the exact number. I'm having a little bit of trouble doing it quickly enough. But in games where Trey Lance didn't shatter his ankle or play in a monsoon, despite all this inexperience and rawness, right? He put up good points per game. The guy, small sample, but the guy on the field did okay. And he's been
rushing is definitely, and he's definitely has rushing upside.
He's working on his pass mechanics. I know that was, which happens a lot. The guy was 20. He was an inexperienced,
and he's 25
FCS prospect. No, what the dude? He was like this. I don't even know if he's younger than Will Levis. When he
Will Levis is 30.
I understand that people like to say I'm holding on to a dream or whatever. And I get that.
Who was that old ass quarterback that the Browns drafted in the late first round? Wenke? No.
Chris Wenke, Florida State. He was it 96?
No, it was definitely a W.
So anyway,
it was Wenke, yeah.
What I've always maintained with Lance is that I don't have enough evidence that he can't play to say one way or the other.
Do you have any evidence that he can? Well, okay, I guess yeah. You just
I don't have the evidence to knock him down to number 30 below Sam Howell, Desmond Ritter, and Will fucking Levis.
Well,
it's not that I'm holding on to a dream. I'm simply saying we don't know yet. And we don't have enough data. We don't have enough info.
I have him below everyone except for one person in the entire world. I have lower than him.
You have him below
rankable player.
You have him below Purdy. No, it's disgusting.
No, I have Tannehill below him.
By the way, our buddy Trey, who gets made fun of for his receding hairline, just turned 23 in May. So, let's slow down with the.
He's on the Geno track.
Maybe. No, I don't know. I just think that when I look at where I have him, I'm saying to myself, he's kind of like that last high ceiling, really high upside quarterback before I get into a bunch of vets and meh guys, right? And you would have Jones in with those high ceiling guys, and then for me, it's Daniel Jones is in, and then it's Goff, Cousins, Carr, Stafford, Geno, Mack, Pickett, Ritter, Rodgers, Purdy, Jordan Love, all the meh guys that are I don't want any of them as my quarterback too. To me, Lance is last house on the block when it comes to really high upside quarterbacks.
Yeah, I don't know. Lance is not in there. But then there's two guys in that whole group that I do kind of like that you just rattled off.
Okay.
Right? I think